G'day everyone, welcome to King of the Hill on Thone. Slightly smaller lobby today, so we've reverted to the old school style. 4 kings in the middle, a super eco, and then 3 wings that have to take their own lanes. Highly recommend getting real aggressive on this one, because if you don't push out and control that low ground, you're going to be in trouble. Though there's not going to be quite as much option for the peasants to go into that co-op eco with mass comms. They'll still do it, but they won't have all that extra build power in the first few minutes of the game that makes all the difference. Couple of dry sea players getting ready to scale up. My big recommendation is work together to do that one. Every bit of metal doubling and energy doubling you can achieve makes for big differences. We've got a 70% bonus for the kings on this one, because we do know just how advanced the play around the outside has gotten, so hopefully, with some very strong kings up here, Small, Mazza, Grumpiness, and Potato, all players that you should well and truly recognize from past games. We're going to have a big competition, but there are plenty of players around the outside that you well know, including this asshole. It's Twig. As well as some many other wonderful players that join us for these King of the Hills. We've got Psycho Pew Pew, Duffy. We can see in the side here we have Newt. We have Newt. I kill you for fun as well. Newt J Frost up there too. Fish House Mike, been a little while. Thanks. Nice to see you joining us. Rosie as well, who's been rocking the King's position on the Raptor Crater recently, as well as many others that we'll get to during the course of the game. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, Tank Tom, are you in this game?
No, I stepped out of this one.
So joining me in the casting booth is Tank Tom, and not Twig, because he's a butt.
He's abandoned us.
He has abandoned us.
Why you ask me to record this? It's going to be a boring perspective.
Because someone assumed that you would be in the casting booth with us. That's okay. Thankfully, I did click that record button, which is why you're seeing this now. Having a look around at the map. Beautiful lava separation keeping the kings apart. Should actually run over the rules if you're new to King of the Hill. Just for your information, we do have this lovely lava donut that keeps the kings protected for 10 minutes. Even if you can reach them with artillery, please don't. We do have a 10-minute no-rush timer, as I said at the beginning, 70% bonus for those kings. We've turned air off. We've made a couple of adjustments to the T2 units, so you'll find missile artillery is a no-no. That's just because the kings have limited build space. Less so right now because there's only 4 kings instead of 7, but still very easy to pop an eco. So we do leave those ones off. You're going to have to hit to T3 if you want to really rain hell down from above. Beyond that, we do say no offensive structures. We did have some minor issues last week with the EMP. We've had some discussions around that. We have decided to leave it in for now, because that was one of the first times we've seen it massively abused. One of the big reasons behind it is that the EMP launcher and the catalyst are incredible ways for the kings to defend against early T3. If somebody starts raining Vanguard shells on you and you do not have a lot of eco to really deal with it, you can build yourself those catalysts to destroy them or the EMPs to surround them. Similarly, if someone sends a demon up, you can drop an EMP on it to make it stop. So that's why we've left those ones in.
Round for the peasants when there's that T3 ball rolling around the map. When you have a chance to just pop it, works great.
Exactly. So that's our reasoning for leaving it in, but we are going to keep that one nice and monitored, and we are going to make sure that we talk about it over the next couple of games, just so people really do get it into their heads. So if you build them as a king, make sure that you don't make sure you don't use your defensive structures really outside of where the lava is now, and similarly for the peasants, don't use it beyond the lava. Structures need to be used defensively because they can be absolutely crazy. We've seen the defenses out of a few players on the king's side before. Just building a bunch of rattlesnakes on the high ground does tend to keep them quite safe from all of those pesky spiders, as well as those comms that get nice and close to the edge of the cliff. I also did some testing and noticed that catalysts are incredibly good at killing the comms that sneak up to the edge to try and degun up the hill. Wink, wink.
What you're
Looking
saying is I should
around,
start including catalysts in my builds for a bunch of these things.
yeah, that's the thing. As the in the 7-player maps, with 2 players, well, with a player at each entrance, one of the things that you can do is actually go full defensive there. Be the player that gets the ticks running around the map. Be the player that has the catalysts ready to react. Pork up a bit and let the rest of your team have that extra bit of freedom. I'd actually love to play a slightly more co-op-y version of some of the positions up here, say pairing off with someone in one of the wings, and I'll be the guy to build the defenses around their base so that they don't have to. See how that one works, and it means I don't need to focus on getting a fusion. They can just get more fusions and more build power to deal with it. And we'll see how that one works, but that might be a video for another day.
It would be worth teaming up for. I'd be more than happy to pump the eco, knowing that I don't have to get the defenses around the back as well.
Exactly, it might be the meta change that we need to see in order to give the Kings a bit more of a chance on this map, because we have been seeing some pretty crazy co-ops. Like for example, down on the bottom side, Twig, Psycho Pew Pew, and Waterbin working together to get that T2 lab out. 6 minutes. 6 minutes to get those. Actually, not so much co-op, honestly. Usually we see a much earlier set if there's more eco, but this also could just be because there are there's less players and less available metal. Still, this is going to get the advanced geo down nice and early, but I don't think we're going to see T3 out of them. With 3 minutes to go, that's going to be a bit too much of an ask.
I don't reckon we'll see that with this many players. They'll definitely be able to hold their own, but I don't see the Vanguard shelling at 10 minutes.
No, looking around the map, it does look like the ecos are running a fair bit slower than we normally see on this map, which is going to be nice for the Kings. That plus 70 bonus is going to let them really carry this one away, hopefully. And we might see our first win on Thone for the Kings in a while, but that does also mean we may have slightly over-tweaked it. But we can only see at that 10-minute mark. With 3 less players, you can't just have a few focused on defenses. Each player has to build everything, has to have the time to build everything. So when we do have these 7 Kings, the early T1 aggression can be incredibly hard to get in, particularly if the players pork up. Oh dear. One of the
com was building walls and got stuck on the wrong side of the lava.
Whoops. But without a dedicated defensive player, these players will have to multi-roll everything. So it's going to be a APM battle for them in the middle, but I think these guys are up for it.
We can see that most of them have got their fusion up and running, or at least the first one. Which means that, where are we, 8 minutes, they're well and truly on track to either rush a bit more scale, or start getting those armies up and running so that they've got units ready to roll at 10 minutes.
Something that I find very interesting, playing this map versus playing on Claymore. Claymore gives you that same eco around those 3 mexes. You do only get the 3. I was able to get 2 fusions and a T2 army by the 10-minute mark in the game we just played. But interestingly enough, the extra space, the spreading out, the walking times, all that sort of thing, the requirements to actually put out the extra units to make things happen, like defenses so far away, all that sort of thing. It slows the economy down dramatically, which is one of the reasons why you actually see similar amounts or more eco out of the Kings in the wings at 10 minutes when they don't have to defend these positions, even though they get 3 mexes more than they would otherwise get.
Because by the time they walk the constructor over to those mexes, get those up, and then build the defenses, they only end up with, 7 minutes or so at 2 mexes?
Something like that, yeah.
Be able to build that defensive bastion.
A couple of the things that are incredibly critical with the when you play in the King's role is what time your advanced construction bot comes out, what time you reclaim the T2 lab, how much build power you have, how good your build order is, that sort of thing. I've managed to go from one fusion to 2 fusions just by changing the build orientation in the first part of the game. There we go, that is 10 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. Let us do a quick bandbox around the map. Very limited units out of the kings and the peasants, though it does look like Maz is going on the aggressive, as is Small. But on the top side of the map, where there is mostly only T2 defenses at the moment, T1 actually better defense against T1, going to be a nice rush into Potato's base. Hopefully a couple more of these can come down in time. I do like this, though. The Ghost is getting ready for some EMPs, and that could be a really big factor right here. Oh, is not a big factor, and it does look like the pawns are going to get in. The beamers are going to do a great job, but they're not really up yet, and the defenses are down. Units are starting to come with Fat Boys. This is the important thing. Send those pawns into the middle of the map. That's where you need to. That's where you need to hit the most. If you can cripple that eco player,
fight the eco.
Oof. Yep, you don't need to clear the defenses, you need to clear the eco. Does look like a couple of ticks still in the streaming into the base, but defenses haven't made their way out. Looking on the outside of the map, a large Cookie Mazza stout push has made its way through. That's actually going to be a lot of units to deal with. Just some T1, but they are making their way around nicely.
They've got the Geo on the left, the Geo on the top's going down, that lab's dying. They're rotating down the left side as well. They are putting a lot of pressure on these peasants.
Players have not gone with the early defense and early units, just with the usual being that the kings are not on the offensive this early on this map, but it's certainly doing a lot of damage for the kings right now. A couple of good D guns out of Oratab, but we're getting that detonation to kill a couple of the tanks. We do have a Rattlesnake nearly down, but nearly is not down. That needed to be something slightly quicker to come back up. Should still do some decent damage when it comes up. Smoky coming down to clear this up. Going to be a lot of wind damage, but this should potentially be enough to clear. Just depends on how good the D-guns are out of the comm, and that's a great start right there. And we also have the Rattlesnake now getting the shots on. It is going to start taking damage from the from all of the brutes, but no dice for taking it down just yet. There is a Sheldon, though, that's going to keep chipping it away, so I actually reckon that one isn't quite going to be held here. We're going to be up to the next players to deal with that. On the bottom side of the map, a T2 attack is coming out of Potato. He did survive that damage done nice and early and is now getting the Hounds out, but Hounds not the best against what is coming at them. These grunts doing a great job. Unfortunately, they are nice and grouped, so that shot, 31 kills from that Fat Boy. Sniper's doing a good job taking out the Fat Boys, though. Getting that vision range for them is very nicely done. So we're actually sitting reasonably even right now. Economy is approximately even across the board, but the Kings are getting that chip damage in, and the Peasants are not, which means that this will start swinging towards the Kings' favor, particularly with D-guns like that. Out of Twig, a fantastic job of killing all of those. Is trying to get his comm up against the wall for D-guns, but with that extra space, the players have moved away nicely.
Commander destroyed. Commander destroyed.
Very nice amount of damage. The top is being cleared up, but we do have the outside of the map coming online with some pawns. Unfortunately, with some grunts. Unfortunately, grunts not the best at cleaning up the fiends. Still, combined with the blitzers, they should do a decent job. The thugs as well. Hopefully, there was a response nearly immediately. Like once that first wave got pushed out, they've gone into units to be able to stop this second wave from just rolling straight out to that economy. Which is great to see, because we do sometimes find that players feel like they're safer than they actually are and miss out, but there are plenty of ticks roaming around trying to find what's going on, trying to get the damage done. It does look like the King's momentum is starting to shift out a little bit. The Peasants have rebuffed that first wave. A lot of the players that needed to come online have, and we have stabilized somewhat. And it does mean, because of the extra focus from those units, we haven't seen a huge eco explosion out of the Kings. Though in the middle of the map, Grumpiness going with Super Fusion City, getting those snipers up. So that is going to be a sniper war in the right-hand side of the map. Both sides with the radar jammer and some vision coming in, just enough to keep just enough of those snipers to keep the welders back to save them from target firing shenanigans. So really well played right now out of Team Newt. J-Frost very experienced in this game, so very, very good at managing what is going on here.
I do like that they've got those ticks in front to eat all the shots.
It does help. It does help a lot.
It makes a huge difference.
And if the other players can start getting their ticks in, we do see some lines starting to zigzag in. Hopefully they'll be able to get in and fire on those snipers. Unfortunately, the sniper trade going badly right there for J-Frost, and J-Frost is going to be in one of the hardest positions to fix it. Because getting units out as a peasant as an individual peasant is much harder than getting them out as an individual king. So losing those couple of snipers is critical, and now the spam is inside, so the vision range is there. And we do see the lack of spam in front, meaning that the target fire from those sharpshooters is doing a good job. Having to pull back, but these defenses won't be super helpful against those snipers. One of the big differences here was Grumpiness having the energy to actually keep those snipers on invisible between shots. Top side of the map, one of the kings understanding that these areas are not necessarily actually cliffs. There are a few little canyon gaps between them that can be a nice surprise, but Lingeron is an experienced king player and managed to clean that up with some great D-guns. So nicely done. Top half of the map has been taken over by spiders out of Potato as well. These spiders not giving the players at the top an opportunity to get out there. Thankfully though, the rattlesnake did survive from the earlier attack, and the rattlesnake is a very good counter to those spoiders. Still, with
done a reasonable job of keeping the kings up on that middle tier. Whilst they got out early, they haven't been able to continue to get out and deal significant amounts of damage. Although it's definitely hanging in the balance for now.
And that does mean that the economies are scaling approximately equal. We were 200 to 300 metal ahead for the peasants. We are still 200 to 300 metal ahead. If you are looking closely, you will see it fluctuate in a very large amount. That's just because of reclaim. Does look like some potential here for pushing in, but really good side swiping from a few of the peasants, cleaning up. Cleaning up good damage, but we do have the welders inside the base, and that's a very big grab just there, all of the conversion, which is going to really slow down J-Frost's ability to react to this. The snipers are doing damage, but they are not, they weren't able to clean it up before that happened. Still, this area will hold because of the combined forces of multiple players. Looking at the bottom half of the map, we do have more sieging going on. We've got some Tsars, we have some Banishers just plugging their way in. It's very interesting that the bottom of the map is Banisher v Banisher. The right of the map is Sniper v Sniper, and the left of the map has been T1 v T1.
Pretty much.
That's a pretty good. Oh no, we just had I think that was Twig's comm just going down to the Tsar.
It was alive, then it was dead.
Exactly. As Twig says, he is a massive noob. Managed to lose his comm to a very avoidable situation. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching this one on YouTube, leave a comment and let Twig know exactly how he should have dealt with that situation, or just, you know, give him some good old Aussie shit. But it does look like we have a bit of a change in the battlefield going on right now. We have T3 starting to come out from the middle of the map. Also, all those little bits of chip damage that have been going on, they have knocked the peasant economy down just that little bit. It's now looking closer to a 200 gap instead of a 300 gap, and we're about to have Razorbacks out. Unfortunately, the ticks are not going in front, so the sniper's going to get some great damage on here. We also do have some decent T2 defenses here. The pop-up turret's going to do a good job. Does look like the first wave of Razorbacks is going to be somewhat repulsed. Com, unfortunately, on the wrong side, but plenty of snipers. So
be able to get all that reclaim.
Yes. That's a 10,000
push has done absolutely nothing.
And that was a tiny bit of miss micro. Just those ticks would have been enough to help that push get in and do at least something. Even if all they broke was a couple of snipers.
Getting up into the left wing.
Oh.
Ooh, not enough to do anything significant. The placement of that base meant that it survived.
Just a heads up, we do have a defense from Virtuosora that is firing onto Mazza at the moment. So if we do have someone that can deal with that, that would be appreciated. Tom, do you mind just chucking a message in chat? There we go, it is being reclaimed, so we're all good there. Big spider attack coming up from Twig, trying to get into Small's base, but Small knows exactly what's up here. He's got himself Wardens, he's got himself LLTs, he's got himself Persecutors, so no dramas there. Maybe a bigger attack might work, but not that small fry. Even with that plus 70 bonus, the Kings are not looking to be in control of this game. The economy has shot up for the peasants because of that reclaim. It is now looking around about a 60 to 70% in favor of those peasants. We do see around the outside of the map, one of the big reasons that has happened is the aphises are online, the conversion is online, and now they're starting to get into T3 of their own. So really nicely done. Oh my god, look at the bottom left side of the map. Tyrock.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at.
Tyrock has decided that 600 wind is the go, and they're actually going to start running into the build limit at some point. The bigger the game goes, the less individual units a player can has. Look at those beamers go for Potato.
Just over 100 of their unit cap from wind turbine.
Look at Small's Beamers doing a great job of keeping this flood of T1 back, but the snipers are now rolling forward. This is going to be the most pressure that the Kings have been under, but there is quite a lot to defend here. We do have 8 rattlesnakes ready to return fire. Twig trying to get up with spiders, but just getting absolutely mulched by all of those pop-up cannons. Sniper's doing a great job just here of clearing those defenses out. We do have high trajectory fire coming out of the rattlesnakes, though, that should start to do some good damage here, particularly if they start hitting those jammers. They did walk, the snipers have walked a little bit closer, and now they are being railed. Are these being manual fired? They are being manual fired, so this is going to be very hard for those snipers to push through. That's a lot of money down the drain for the Kings for very little in the way of gain. But with plenty of T1 getting ready to rush up, they may be able to break through some of those defenses. And that does look to have happened, and sometimes it's going to be the shots out of these defensive weapons that will do the most damage, but in this case it is nicely eaten by the construction turrets. Looking down the bottom of the map, similar sort of conditions for everyone at the moment. The bottom of the map is going for those vanguards though, so they should be able to shell up into the high ground. And even though Twig's attack did fail with those spiders, it has provided good vision. If we go to player view, you can actually see some good scouting there. You can see the defenses. Oh, it's not actually too good.
This vanguard will potentially deal a whole bunch of damage.
They hopefully will do a lot of damage, but we do have Small pushing a lot of forces down the ramp to try and deal with it. You got to get the T1 surround units if you want to try and deal with the vanguards, and that's why we're seeing Fat Boy's defenses as well.
Over the shields.
Oh no! Still not full damage being done just yet. Still, that's a nice little effect right there. I do love these ground firing rattlesnakes, by the way. That's been a very strong defense, but a lot of it has been pushed through, and it does look like Grumpiness may have to swap direction if he wants the top half of the map to survive. Looking around the map, we need to see some of these other players come online. Tyrock, with one of the bigger economies going on right now, would be great to see him starting those units up, especially with Grumpiness actually breaking through the main defensive line over here, getting the units in. There's not much to really stop this Razorback attack, as long as the Razorbacks are on the right sort of commands, which for a Razorback is usually a move command. It's going to be able to grab all this build power, it's going to be able to grab those Aphis. That one might just complete before it's popped out. The spam's coming through. All they have to do is make their way around to someone like Ollie, who has managed to get themselves a 8 Aphis economy, starting to pump those Titans out. This could be the spot that the Kings need, but the
As
forces
long
have
as the
been
Kings can
pulled.
hold on that right-hand side,
And
they
that's the
should
thing,
be able to keep going.
the momentum out of Grumpiness's attack is going to start to fade because all the spam is being sent up to this top right-hand side. It isn't running into too many defenses, and it does look like it is going to be able to grab Ollie. The comm is down. The Geo has been exploded. The build power's down. Nice Aphis
Those
to...
Aphis will be the next in line there.
If they will, there we go. Big explosion right there. So that's a huge chunk of economy down, but you can still see the peasant economy is double the king's economy right now. And the kings are barely holding on in this top right-hand side. I assume we have Twig with some vanguards. Nope, Twig is... they're going to be Duffy's vanguards.
The catapult's mine.
Twig with a single catapult doing a bit of damage here and there is responsible, I do believe, for just popping all of the build power and conversion for small, which is a very big hit for the team. That just dropped their economy.
Continuing around the bottom here.
Oh, they are.
They should be enough to stop the entire economy funding these T3 units out of the peasants down here.
Oh, good little explosion on their last breath. Psycho Pew Pew nearly getting the damage done to stop that, but a good chunk down. Still plenty of forces here. Army value 220% for peasants. So this is still going to be a really rough one. One of the kings really needs to pause for a moment and expand their eco dramatically, because they don't have positioning outside of the map. The forces are coming, but they are having a bit of trouble getting up the ramps. So this is going to be the last opportunity really to scale for the kings, and if they don't scale soon, the army value is going to keep rising for the peasants, and it's going to keep falling for the kings. You can even see Small is having trouble powering his defenses. That's a massive deficit of energy there for the team.
You can see that the peasants have got the spam well and truly covered. Once they get scaled into the point where you've got T3 coming from multiple directions, it's going to get real difficult to hold that off.
Yeah, we have 3 players worth of ticks trying to make their way up into the base. That is a lot.
When you end up in that situation, you're often better off to stop most of them, build up a really nice big blob, and throw it all at once to overwhelm.
I think that would do a lot right here, though there are some Razorbacks ready to defend. There are plenty of Beamers, so I don't think they'll be pushing up into Grumpiness anytime soon. But the Kings... Oh, big push out on the top left-hand side. Nearly missed that explosion. Demons, one of the MVP units in this game. They just pump out so much damage, and they're moderately affordable, so she can actually throw them away. Getting out into the back lines, they are going to clear this one up, and if Mazza can make their way around the map and actually full clear one of the corners, it's going to free them up to completely attack somewhere else. But we do have an intercepting force from Scav, another regular in these matches, trying to cut off the reinforcements, so that even though the units are out there doing damage, they will be limited in just how long they can do that for. Oh no invisibility for the comm, and that is taken down by a couple of the Sheldons. That was trying to go for those catapults, I reckon. Still, King's doing a good job of holding up, but the Vanguards have found the build power yet again for Small, and these are just going to be able to rain down fire. Some really nice little jammers here, allowing for the Vanguards to fire without anyone knowing their exact position. You can manual target these. You can see where the shots come from the fog of war, but it is still a bit of a rough one to try and deal with, and on that angle it can be very hard to return fire. So, and not to mention you've got Twig in the background just popping off those rockets from the catapults. Big push on the right hand side. Shields. We have Mammoths, we have Vanguards, and we have Spam, and they are going to be running into what is probably not quite enough to deal with that. The Mammoths being a really big chunky force at the front, the Spam making it nearly impossible for a comm to come in and degun, and the Vanguards putting the damage down. They're getting the important things like those Beamers. The units are getting cleaned up by the Mammoths. and hopefully this force will be enough to push in. That's the first little bit of eco damage done to Grumpiness. A couple of build towers, thankfully not enough to chain react, but the Vanguards are firing for effect now. They've just gotten into range of that middle of the map. No shields, which means that the shots are going to start penetrating deeper.
Absolutely devastating.
Really nice placement, by the way, for those build turrets. A lot of them didn't chain react with one another just because of the one wides that they were connected with. But with half the build power going down and very little in the way of ability to repel this attack, those Vanguards are going to keep popping shots in. I would sack 100% those units to get it in, and it does look like the Aphis is gone in the middle of the map. That drops the Kings down to 300 income to 3,000 for the Peasants, which is going to be too hard to pull back from. Though they do have a behemoth they're going to have to deal with.
Splat has managed to make it up on Small's wing during that, so his base is now essentially entirely wiped as well. And at this point, I suspect it's going to be just a cleaner.
Crazy thing is, we still have Mazza pushing out reasonably strong on the top side, but with Peasants just throwing money at the problem in the form of ticks, that is not being allowed to get out of the map.
Thankfully for them, ticks are a relatively cheap solution to most problems.
Kings did a really good job this game pushing out early, but unfortunately they continued with the units instead of taking the opportunity to mass scale during that time, which meant that we ended up in the situation where the Peasants scaled and the Kings didn't. Still a very strong showing, clearing out most of the top just with T1, and it shows the sort of damage you can do with a strong attack like that. And I suspect this one did feel slightly better for the Kings than some of the more recent games on this map, because they didn't have to deal with Vanguards at 10 minutes.
Being able to actually get out to kill some Peasants is generally a good feeling. I know we've had games where you just can't get down those ramps at all.
It does look like we're down to just one king in the corner. Mazza's been doing a great job. Wait, I thought Mazza was top side. Sorry, yeah, but they're both red. That's why I'm confused. Potato was top side. Does look like we're down to that one last bastion, which means that we're going to be seeing a nice siege across the map. And even with the limited funding that Mazza has, which is that plus anywhere between 100 and 200 metal, depending on exactly how much is getting converted at any given time, mass T1 spam with the Shivas is actually slowing the roll of this army more than you would expect. But the Vanguards have grouped up, the Catapults have grouped up, the spam is here, the Mammoths are moving forward, and the Fat Boys are here to take out the spam, which means that we're going to start seeing some big hits down. They know where the Aphis is because of the spam, and now the Vanguards are on it. Only going to take a couple of hits. Is it going to be Twigs Catapults? It was not. It was the Vanguards. Right. Nicely done. Mazza hiding in the corner. It isn't over till it's over, and as you would expect from a king losing his kingdom, will find that escape hatch, will do whatever they can for those extra moments of life. But we do have walls coming up. Twin guards and walls is not going to be long for the world. The first Vanguard shot has hit. The first couple of catapult shots have landed. The ticks are in, and that is GG. Very nicely done from the Peasants. Really well done, helping each other. I love the way that the guys around the outside who start with the least got their units in to help with those early attacks, and they did manage to, rather than scale that little bit more, they did manage to get just enough out to keep themselves alive. The top of the map using a great amount of themselves as fodder just to whittle those units down until they could be taken out, then holding together. The mix of spam from the right-hand side, multiple players backing up powerful T2 units, punching those shots in. Twig in the corner doing absolutely nothing because he's useless. And then the bottom side, relentless pressure. Also, the scaling out of Tyrock, starting with nothing, ending the game with 20 Aphis, 1 million build power, and 1 million wind. Nice work. Let's have a quick look at those graphs. Damage dealt, huge amount here out of, I'm guessing this one's Potato and Mazza. Very well done from the Kings, and a couple of the Peasants really high up there on the damage, metal produced, and energy produced. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump into the next one. Thanks for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed that one. Like, subscribe, comment, jump onto the Discord, and hopefully we will see you in the next one.